you were not meant to find this at just any moment. There are videos you scroll past without a second thought, and there are moments when something in you pauses before your mind has a reason to. This was one of those moments. You felt it before you decided anything, a pull, subtle but specific. The kind that does not come from curiosity alone. Someone you love deeply is trying to reach your heart, not through a dream this time, not through a song that came on at the wrong moment and sent you somewhere you were not ready to go. Through Archangel Michael, who carries messages between the two sides of existence, not as a dramatic gesture, but because the person who asked him to has been waiting for a moment when your heart was open enough to receive what they have been trying to say. They tried before. You may have felt them in small ways, a name surfacing without cause, a memory arriving uninvited, a warmth that passed through you in a quiet room and was gone before you could name it. Those were not coincidences, those were attempts, but the noise of your life was too loud, or your grief was too heavy, or you had learned to protect yourself from the kind of hope that can hurt if it turns out to be nothing. This time, something is different. You stopped, and in heaven, that matters. Stay with this. Not because something terrible will happen if you leave, but because what is being carried to you in this moment has been held for a long time by someone who loves you more than the limitations of a physical life ever allowed them to fully show, and they need you to hear it clearly. Without distraction, all the way to the end. Comment "I am listening" below if something in your chest already recognized that this was meant for you. From where they are now, they can see things they could not see when they were here. Not in the way that sounds abstract, not a vague spiritual omniscience, in the specific, personal way that someone who loves you deeply would see if the limitations of a body and a daily life and the ordinary busyness of human existence were removed. They see you clearly now, without the distance that sometimes existed, even when they were close. Without the incomplete understanding that every living person has of another person, no matter how well they love them. And what they see when they look at you breaks their heart, not from grief, but from love that wants something better for you than what they are witnessing. They see you carrying guilt that you have been carrying since they left, maybe since before they left, the kind that lives quietly in the background of ordinary days and only comes to the front when you are still at the end of a night, in a car by yourself, in the space between one thought and the next when there is nothing to distract you. You replay things, words you said or did not say, moments you were not present for, decisions you made that you wonder about now in ways you did not wonder about them then. The goodbye that did not go the way it should have, the goodbye that did not happen at all. They see all of that, and they want me to tell you something about it very plainly. They do not hold any of it, not a single thing, not the argument that was never resolved, not the visit you did not make, not the words that stayed unsaid too long and then there was no more time, not the way grief made you strange and distant afterward, when the people around you needed you to be present, and you could barely be present for yourself. They see everything you are carrying about them, and they are not carrying any of it from their side. What they are carrying is love, just love. The complete, uncomplicated version of it that is only possible when the limitations of a human life, the exhaustion, the fear, the misunderstanding, the timing, are no longer in the way. They want your healing more than they want your guilt. They always did. And from where they are, they can finally say that without the complicated layers that living always adds to love. Archangel Michael carries a message that this person has been waiting to deliver for a long time. Not a prophecy, not a list of blessings about to arrive. Something simpler and more necessary than that. Stop punishing yourself for what love already forgave. That is the message. The whole of it. Everything else that follows in this moment flows from that one thing. You have been doing something that they watch with a kind of anguished tenderness. You have been living as though the unresolved things between you, the things that could not be fixed before the door closed, are a debt that must still be paid. as though you're continuing to carry the weight of it, is somehow honoring them, or making up for something, or keeping the connection alive in the only way that still seems available to you. It is not honoring them, it is exhausting you, and they did not go through whatever they went through, the difficulty of leaving, the tearing of a life away from a world it was woven into, so that the person they loved most could spend the years afterward in a private prison, built from guilt that was never necessary. They want to say this directly to the part of you that still replays the worst moments. I already forgave you, long before I left, possibly long before you even knew there was anything to forgive. Because when love is real, and what was between you was real, it does not accumulate debt the way you have been recording it. The account you have been keeping against yourself has entries on it that heaven has never recognized. Let me say something about the goodbye that did not happen the way it should have. If you were there, and it was not enough, they know you were there. If you were not there and could not be, they know why. If you said something in those last hours that you wish you could take back, they heard the love underneath the fear and the pain. The last moments of a life are not the whole of a love, and the people who cross over understand this in a way that is almost impossible to access from inside a body. They are not standing on the other side waiting for you to get it right. They are standing on the other side hoping you will set it down. Let me say something that might be a little uncomfortable because it comes from a place of care and not judgment. Grief sometimes becomes a way of staying close. When someone you love deeply leaves, the pain of missing them is also, in a strange way, proof of how much they mattered. And there is a part of a grieving person that begins to confuse the continuation of the pain with the continuation of the love, as though being okay would mean forgetting, as though the depth of what you feel now is a tribute to what you lost, and releasing it would be a form of betrayal. That logic is understandable. It is also wrong. They do not want your pain as proof of your love. They have the actual love, all of it, intact. What they want is for you to be free while you are still here to be free. They can see the life that is still ahead of you, and they cannot fully celebrate what is coming for you if you are standing in the middle of it with your hands full of what you should have already been allowed to set down. Missing them is not the same as punishing yourself. Love does not require suffering to remain real. What they are asking for is simpler than a dramatic release. Just permission, your own permission to receive what the rest of your life is still capable of offering, without the condition that you must first prove you have suffered enough. You have. Whatever amount you believed was required, you passed it long ago. They are not only looking at what you carry, they are looking at what is ahead. And this is the part that made them go to Archangel Michael with urgency, because what they see coming for you in this next season is significant. Not dramatic single events, but the kind of movement that happens when a life begins to flow again after a long stillness. A return of something that was present before the grief settled in. Some of it is internal, the clarity that comes when you stop directing most of your energy toward the past. The capacity for presence that returns when you are no longer spending so much of yourself maintaining a weight you were never meant to carry alone. A form of joy, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that lives in ordinary moments and has been absent from yours for too long. And some of it is external. People are going to come into your life in this season who carry something you need, connections that feel different from the ones that have been draining you. People who recognize something in you that you have been having trouble seeing in yourself. Some of these people have already been nudged in your direction. Your loved one has been influencing things from where they are subtly, in the way available to them, creating conditions for connections that would not have formed otherwise. They have not stopped caring about the details of your life. They are still present, still working on your behalf. But there is a limit to what they can do for a life whose owner has decided, in the quiet place where real decisions get made, that they are not quite deserving of what is being arranged for them. That quiet decision has to change. There is something else they want you to hear. This one is more practical. Stop watering dead connections. There are relationships in your life, some of them have been there for a long time, that are no longer alive in the way that matters. They persist out of habit, out of history, out of a loyalty that is more about not knowing how to leave than about genuine nourishment. You pour into them and come away feeling less than before. You make yourself available and receive something that looks like connection but does not feel like it. Your loved one sees these relationships, and they have been watching you spend energy on them that you need for where you are going. This is not bitterness. It is not about cutting people off dramatically or explaining yourself or having a confrontation. It is simply about where you place your attention and your care. The things that are not meant to go with you into the next season of your life will fall away naturally if you stop forcing them to stay. Do not chase what is already turning to leave. The release of what is finished is not a loss. It is space. Space for the people who are coming, space for the version of yourself that is trying to emerge but cannot fully arrive while the old architecture is still standing. Space for the kind of peace that has been waiting for you on the other side of a decision you have been afraid to make for longer than you know. They are not asking you to make this decision all at once. They are asking you to be honest with yourself about which connections are alive and which ones you have been maintaining, because ending them would require you to sit with a discomfort that you have not been ready to face. You are ready now. That is part of what this season is about. The pruning that is happening in your life, some of it uncomfortable, some of it arriving in the form of distance that you did not choose, is not punishment. It is preparation. The life that is being shaped for what is next requires a clearer field, a quieter inner circle, a set of relationships that actually match the person you are becoming, rather than the person you were when they were formed. Trust the letting go that is already beginning to happen around you. I need to say something directly to the version of you that shows up in private, not the public version, the one that holds things together well enough for people around you to not see the full weight. The private one, the one that is honest with itself at the end of the day, about what it actually believes about who it is. That version has a story it has been telling itself, and some of that story is not accurate. You are not your worst moment, not the one that haunts you most specifically, not the pattern of mistakes you have been using to build a case against yourself. Those are part of your story, but not the whole of it, and not the part heaven uses to define you. The part heaven uses is this: you are someone who kept going, not always gracefully, not without breaking down, but you kept going, through loss that was supposed to end you, through grief that was supposed to make you smaller and closed, through a level of difficulty that most people around you do not see and would not fully understand even if they did. They did not see a failure. They saw someone fighting through something they were not supposed to fight through alone. Not always winning, but never fully giving up. That is not a small thing. That is, in the actual accounting of a life, the most important thing. And the qualities forged in those seasons: patience from waiting with no reward, empathy from having been broken from the inside, the capacity to sit with someone else's pain without flinching, because you have lived in pain yourself. These are not wounds. These are gifts, the kind that cannot be given, only earned. You earned them, they are real, and they are exactly what this next season is going to require. They want you to pay attention to 3 things in the coming days, not because these are omens or tests, because they will use them to say hello, to confirm that what you heard today was not your imagination, that the warmth you felt while reading this was not simply emotion but contact. The first is their name, or something attached to it, the way they said a particular word. A reference to something that was specifically yours between the two of you, something that surfaces in a conversation or appears somewhere unexpected. When it happens, you will recognize it not as strange but as familiar. That is the signal. The second is a dream, not a dramatic vision, something softer than that. A dream that feels like less of a dream and more like a visit. One where you wake up and the quality of their presence lingers in a way that is hard to explain and fades more slowly than ordinary dreams do. If you have one, do not analyze it too hard. just receive it. Whisper their name and let it settle. The third is a warmth that arrives without an obvious source. A moment when you are somewhere ordinary making coffee, sitting in your car, walking somewhere you have walked many times, and for a few seconds the air feels different, warmer, more present, like the room has one more person in it than you can see. That is them. It will not frighten you. It will feel like exactly what it is. When any of these happens, do not scroll past it. Do not rationalize it into a neurological coincidence. Acknowledge it. You do not need to do anything elaborate. Just say quietly, in your mind or out loud, I see you. I feel you. I receive this. That is enough. That is the language they understand. And every time you acknowledge their presence rather than dismiss it, you strengthen the channel between you. Not through ritual or performance, through attention and willingness. The same things they are asking from you in everything else. Before Archangel Michael steps back from this message, there is one final thing, not a warning, not a deadline, an invitation. The life that is still ahead of you is larger than the life that grief has been allowing you to access. Not because the grief was wrong, it was not wrong. It was love doing the only thing available to it when the person it was attached to left, but because the grief has served its purpose and continued past its season. It has been protecting you from the full exposure of a life that keeps moving forward, keeps requiring things of you, keeps offering things that feel dangerous to accept, because accepting them feels like a proof that you have moved on. You have not moved on. You will not move on in the sense that implies forgetting or diminishing what was there. That is not what healing is. Healing is the capacity to carry the love forward without the weight, to keep the memory without the punishment, to let who they were to you continue to be a presence in your life, not as a ghost you are haunted by, but as a foundation you stand on, as one of the things that made you who you are, honored fully by the way you choose to live rather than the way you choose to suffer. That is what they want for you, not your tears, though they have seen them and they have mattered. Not your guilt, though it is understandable. Your full present, alive in this moment, life with all its possibilities still intact. With the parts of you that grief has been holding in storage released back into the world where they belong. You have not missed your moment. The version of your story that grief has been telling you that you waited too long, that too much is damaged, that the window is closing, that version is not accurate. You are not behind. You are right here, at exactly the right point, having been changed in exactly the ways that were necessary, standing at the beginning of a season that was specifically constructed for the person the last few years have been building. Go into it, not when you feel ready, because readiness of that kind tends not to arrive on its own. Go into it now, carrying what you learned, releasing what you were never meant to hold, and staying open to what is being arranged by someone who has never stopped loving you and has never stopped working on your behalf. They are proud of you, not despite what you have been through, because of how you have been through it. Go now. Keep going. If this reached something real in you today, share it with one person who is still in the middle of a grief they have been carrying alone. Not to activate anything, because they may need to hear that the people they lost still love them, and that love never required the suffering to prove it. Type I receive peace below when you are ready. That is the only act of faith this message asks of you. They are smiling already.